Welcome to the third episode of the Make Your Destiny Happen Petite Podcast. I'm Donzo Leggett, Principal of Destiny Development Delta LLC, a U.S.-based international consultancy focused on executive leadership development and helping you make your destiny happen. Now, in episode 1, I introduced the A attitudes of leadership and mentioned that over the next 4 episodes, I would explain the A attitudes of leadership while bringing them to life with examples and stories in the form of lessons from the Chief, my father. In episode 2, I began explaining the attitudes of leadership, starting with the foundational tier of authenticity and assuredness. Now, I'll continue to explain the attitudes of leadership, but I'm moving on now to the intrapersonal tier of accountability and action. Now, accountability means accepting responsibility for yourself, for what you've done. But it also means taking proactive responsibility to achieve the goals that you've set and to deliver on the commitments that you've made. Action is the process of exerting force to do something, to make things happen, to achieve your goals and commitments. Now, my dad, he was known as reliable and dependable. He was also known as committed. He could always be counted on to be there, to show up, to live up to his commitments. He held himself accountable to do what was important to him, which was taking care of his family. Creating the financial stability through his work was a big part of that. He accomplished something that I'll never accomplish in my life. He worked for the same company, Southern Bell, later Bell South, for 43 consecutive years. And he started as a janitor, but worked his way up through accountability and action to be a linesman. But like I said before, his friends were also important to him. And he held himself accountable to be there for them, as I talked about earlier. But he took action to make sure that his commitment to his friends never interfered with his commitment to work and taking care of his family. I remember one time when I was in high school, my cousins were over to spend the night. After dinner, my dad left at about 6 p.m. to go to this clubhouse, hang out with his friends and his club brothers. Now, this place was called The Shack, and it was kind of like a neighborhood bar. He was one of the main bartenders. In fact, he was the main bartender because he was one of the leaders of the club. And normally he would stay till about midnight or 1, and then he'd get relieved. But every once in a while he didn't. And so this particular night, my cousins and I, we hung out, we played for a while until it got dark. And then we decided to stay up all night. See if we can stay up till the roosters crow. Now, if you've ever been to Key West, you know what I'm talking about. Roosters start crowing around 5:30. Now, as the night progressed, we were watching TV and, talking, but we got tired. Lost track of time, kind of dozing off. My dad comes in. It's about 4 a.m., so he must not have gotten relieved. He had to stay a little longer. Me and my cousins jumped up. We're kind of groggy, half awake. And I remember saying to them, as I looked at the clock, man, it's 4 o'clock. My dad's got to be up at 5:30. There's no way that's happening. I can't see it. But an hour later, the rooster started crowing, and my dad was up, dressed and looking as fresh as a daisy, ready to go. We looked at each other like, what? How is he doing that? He's like a machine. But no matter what was going on, my dad was going to work. Nothing was stopping him. He held himself accountable to show up, and he took action to make it happen. Look, it was a different time back then. That was, 50 years ago. Like I said, me and my dad were very different. But the lesson was clear. Nothing comes in front of you living up to your accountabilities. If you want to hang out with your friends, that's fine, but it can never interfere with your commitments. In his case, even though his friends and his role at the club was important, being the bartender, being part of leadership in the club, important, he took accountability and action to make sure that it never stopped him from delivering on his commitments. That was going to work for 43 straight years and taking care of his family. And I thank him for that. I thank my dad for that. I can't wait till episode 4 to share the next set of lessons from the Chief. But in the interim, remember to visit us at www.destinydevdelta.com to learn more about us. Sign up to become an insider. Be among the first to be notified when my book is out and available to order, and to get your copy personally signed. Once again, thank you for joining this episode of the Make Your Destiny Happen Petite Podcast, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Until then, remember, you are the leader of your life, and you have the power to make your destiny happen.